Hello again, all my lovely friends. The last video I posted was about opening this Warhammer Heroes. There you go. Warhammer Heroes blind box figure, and I was looking to get GOLTAN. Was it GOLTAN the Relentless? Yeah, GOLTAN the Relentless. And so I managed to snag him, and I figured what I'd do is make a video showing how you put these guys together. This is real easy. This is what they call a push fit kit, which basically means all of these guys have little pegs. Like if you look right here on the on the inside of the torso, there's a peg that's sticking out, and that peg will fit into that hole on the other side, and these legs will peg into the hips there, and the arms will peg in to the gaps in the shoulder there. It's pretty cool. It's really simple. These kits, they tell you can just push the stuff off of the sprue, but I tend not to trust that, because lots of times you leave a lot of rough stuff on the miniature itself whenever you do that, little pieces of the sprue and such. But I'm going to show you how to take this out, clean it up, and all that, and we'll put it together. Now, you can glue these guys together if you want to. It's actually probably better to glue them together, honestly, because they will hold better. But really, I've got a few of them that I put together and didn't glue, and they're just fine. One of the problems I have a lot of times with the push fit kits, they peg in really well, and if I want to take anything apart again, it takes a good bit of work, and I don't want to damage the plastic, because when it's something tiny like this, you're going to be looking at it up close, and you see every little detail. Now, I don't know. I don't think these will have any, what's the word I'm looking for? There's like a seam that runs around most parts. Let's see. Does he have a seam on the leg there? They're getting better and better at making these without seams in them. But like where the two pieces of the mold come together, and this right here is where that's the injection point, where they inject the liquid or the hot plastic into it, and it flows into the mold, and that is, the two pieces come together like that, and you'll have like a little seam sometimes with okay, I was just checking. I'm at work right now, and I'm just keeping an eye on the place from where I am. Anyway, but yeah, I don't see any seams on these. But you know, when you put these things together, there's certain tools. Now it'll tell you on the package that, you know, easy to build, you won't need any tools, and that's fine. If you're just doing this just for fun or whatever, that's fine. But like if you want to make this miniature really nice and you want it to look good and you want to paint it up, then you'll want to do a little bit of cleanup. And there's 3 really essential tools for doing that. Number 1, your bestest friend when you're making these kits is a pair of sprue cutters. Some people call them nippers. Now these aren't the real expensive ones. As a matter of fact, I think I paid like $8 for these. This is the is it Xuron? Like Xuron or whatever. These were at Hobby Lobby, and I got them for like $8. You can pay a lot more for these things, and honestly, with nippers, the more you pay for them, you really are getting a better working thing. The God Hand nippers, everybody swears by them. I've never used them because they're pretty expensive. Look up the prices on those and you'll see. But from everything that I've heard, those things are good. They work really well, and the way they're designed, it leaves almost no like damage to the sculpt itself, or to the figure itself. Second thing you'll want an X-Acto, and let's get a little bit of glue on it. No, I didn't cut myself. I'm running it along the side of the blade instead of on the blade. Anyway, mainly this is for smoothing things out. Whenever you have a seam, you know, like if the seam, like if this is the seam right here, this right here, and you want it to go away, you just scrape down it with the edge of the blade, and it'll trim that off. I'm trying to see if I have anything around here that has a seam. No, I don't really have anything that has a seam. But anyway, if there turns out to be a seam on this, we'll do it. And sometimes I use this for if there's something like a piece of the sprue stays on and the nippers would would damage the plastic, this does a good job of trimming that. The third thing you'll need is a nail file. Now, this isn't the best one to use, but this is the only one I had to hand. I thought I had brought some better ones with me, but I didn't. But this is, you can still use one that's kind of rough like this. This is just any of the, whenever you trim, or, you know, if you pop it out of off of the sprue, the way the sprue is made, you see these little tiny pieces right there between my finger? Those are supposed to break off. And often, more often than not, a little bit of it will stay on the model. And you want to get rid of those because they look really bad whenever you put it together. But anyway, that's the tools you use. So what we're going to do is we're going to follow the instructions. A lot of times you don't really, you know, you can kind of look at it. And, you know, like it'll tell you here, follow assembly drawings, fit parts together, retain package for future reference, whatever. Push off the sprue. We're going to trim them off the sprue. Push fit assembly, no glue needed. Yeah. And because I'm going to use this, I'm going to kit bash something out of this guy. But I'm going to go ahead and put him together, and then I'll be able to take him apart later. I might do a little bit of modifying so that the pieces don't stick together as well. Because I will eventually, I'll glue this guy together whenever I do the kit bashing to it I want to do. But you'll see it's got, really it's like 4 main steps, but each step has sub-assemblies and things like that. This guy, you make a choice. He's got 2 heads you can use. You can use the angry, fleshy GOLTAN face there. He looks awesome. Or you can use the, oh, where'd it go? The helmeted head, which is really cool too. I will be using the helmeted head because it just looks awesome. They look like knights, or they look like medieval space marines is what they look like, which is kind of the, that's kind of the thing. But yeah, you make a choice between the 2 heads. You don't really have any other choices to make. Usually when they have a choice, it looks specifically like that. And you trim out the, what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim out all the pieces at one time because they're easy to identify, because none of the pieces are like you have a left arm, a right arm, a left leg, you know, there's no parts that are really confusing as to where they go. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trim out the parts. And the way you do that, you get your nippers, and you would think, oh, I'm going to trim it right, you know, at the thing right here, you know, where the little nib is. But honestly, you can do more damage doing that, because what happens is you're pushing against, and if you ever do cut a model piece, you want the flat side. Like you see, you got one side that's kind of beveled, or like it's got an angle to it. It's thicker up there. This is the blade, and you can see there the blade. You want the blade closer to the edge of the thing that you're cutting. But I'm not going to trim it that way. The way that most people trim is you actually, the water machine's like glog, glog, glog in the corner of the room. It scared the mud out of me. You want to trim it there. And see, that takes the piece of sprue with it. and it's easier to clean up later. Now these pieces will want to just jump out because they're really thin, the little connection bits, but particularly on things like the bases, you really don't want to trim those that way. I have a, hold on, let me use this because I don't want to scratch up this disc. The shield, or not the shield, this is the base. And if you use the nipper on it like this, sometimes what you'll do is it will pull the plastic and it'll leave a mar on that. And you really want this surface to be as smooth as possible because that's like one of the big presentation things. So what I often do is I'll take the X-Acto, and what you're doing is you're kind of, let's see if you can see it. I'm kind of putting it like up against the edge like that, and I'm just going to push it down and chomp it, you know, onto the thing, and I'll show you. And it's just really easy, and you've removed it without much of a mark. And if you do have any left, and you'll see there's a little bit sticking off the bottom there, you just, and you don't want to do like sandpaper. With these things, what you really want to do is just kind of push it off of there, and the same going down, and you'll have a much smoother surface. You'll have that mark, but it's smoothed off, and paint will, you know, you won't notice it with the paint on it because you paint these bases. I'm not sure about Age of Sigmar because I've not really gotten into the gameplay and stuff like that, but it looks to me like in the pictures there's sort of a gray or like a stony color for them. It doesn't matter because I'm not really going to use these for the game, but you know, whatever color you're going to use on that base, the bases are actually, from what I know of the game, the bases are important, like the color of the bases and things like that, the rims. A lot of things, they do them in black, and it used to be back in the day they did them in green. But anyway, and I just do this with each side of this thing. I just push it and just simply pop it right off, and it'll go flying. Or you can kind of hold it. You can kind of hold it with your finger and keep it from flying off. Another thing you can do to get rid of this, like this little burr right here, and this is what I was talking about. You take the edge of the X-Acto and just kind of run it along it, and it'll smooth it right down. I still hit that with a little sanding motion there. Remember, you don't do it like you're whittling down a chunk of wood. You just do it gently. As gently as you can, and just in one direction. You know, like the band. Nothing should be like the band. But yeah, you can see it there. It's shaving off little bits of it, and it just smooths it up really nice. So we're 13 minutes into this video, and I just did the base, so let's go through the rest of it, and we're just going to nip things off of here. Snip the sprue piece. I didn't even have it on camera. I tell you, people don't understand until you start making videos. You are watching yourself do things through the lens because the camera is between you and the thing. So if I ever lose where I am, that's because I'm looking over the thing instead of through, because it is kind of weird. And once again, we're just, see, that's the thing. I'm looking through the camera to get where I am, and it's just such a, you have to kind of train yourself not to do it, and I'm not quite there yet. Oh, took the head off. Let's see. I'm trying to keep it in there so you can see. Now this one is really close right here, so I'm just going to nip it right there, and probably do the same thing right there. And you'll do a lot of flipping and turning while you build these things because it's just easier to get to them a certain way. And it's just all part of the fun, like learning these little things. Now this one, see the little sprue part that goes to it. You actually will. It's easier to cut it off of there. And yeah, see these are so close. And that's what I was saying is, like, sometimes you want to trim the thing off of there if it's like a small part like this. And basically what you do is you put the blade part closer to the thing and just you very gently pull it off, and it minimizes how much of it tears. But you can see there's a little tiny bit there on each end, but we'll take care of that in a minute. And let's see. See, it's hard to the hand and eye, well, it's hand and screen coordination. And chomp this. There you go. I have terrible camera work. Now, you would think, oh, I'm gonna throw away this. Don't ever throw these away. I'd advise you to look at some of the videos on YouTube of what you can do with these sprues. I personally use these sprues for almost everything I build. Because this right here, this is like, is it like, it's not one, is it 3 millimeters? I can't remember what the exact measurement is, and I don't have a tape with me, but this right here, if you have a Dremel tool with a drill bit that is the same diameter as this right here, you can join two pieces of plastic. Like if you have a toy that's got a broken arm or something like that, or you want to shorten an arm or lengthen an arm, you can take the pieces of plastic, drill a hole in one end and a hole in the other, and then fit a chunk of sprue in there. It acts almost like a bone between the two parts, and super glue it. And after you super glue it, and I would definitely use a kicker for like an accelerator for the super glue, because it makes it a stronger bond. That or baking soda. Baking soda works sometimes better. But it does leave a rougher texture, but that's besides the point. The thing is, you want to keep this sprue because that will make sure that those parts will stay together. I've got toys that were broken that, I work for a recycling center, and a lot of times people throw away toys. And before they throw them in the bin, I'll say, oh, I'll take those because I can use pieces and parts. And I've repaired several toys that are in my collection now because a kid broke one off. And in the video where I was talking about those little monster figures that I picked up from Amazon, Destroyer series or something like that, and I told you, like, the comments on those where the joints twist off and break, you can fix them with this. You just Dremel a hole in each side and put this in the gap, So like you have, like, the two pieces are broken, you drill a hole in one piece, so there's a channel, you drill a hole in the other, and you just put it together with this in the middle. All right, that's enough about sprues. Sprues are awesome. They're your friends. Keep them. Another thing you can do, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent again. You can make something called sprue goo. And what you do is you take acetone, the chemical acetone, and you put it in a glass jar with a top. Don't put it in a plastic thing, or the acetone will eat its way right through it. Acetone breaks down plastic like this. You can put this stuff, you can chop it up into little pieces and put it in acetone, and it will turn it into a gooey, sticky mess that you can use. You can, like, scrape it out with a spatula and use it to fill gaps in things. You can build stuff with it. You can glue things together with it, as long as it's the same plastic. And as soon as the acetone evaporates, it's just as hard as this plastic again. All right, enough of that. We're doing this. So now that I've trimmed them off of the runner or the sprue, then I go in and just kind of nip them very easily. You don't, because see, the problem with nipping them off of the sprue is because it's connected in two places. Sometimes what you'll do is you'll nip it and it pulls a piece apart. So when you have it, you know, separate like this, you have more control over the cut. And you can hear that little click when it bites into the plastic. And yeah, but you see here, this is one of the cases I was talking about. This is where the sprue was connected. You can take the blade and just kind of scratch it along there. That's not in focus, is it? And scratch it along there and take any of that off. And you might, you know, you can trim it any way you see fit, but you're just trying to smooth it out, because you have to remember, when you're making these little miniatures, people are going to be looking at these things up close. When you take pictures of them, if you do, you're going to have the macro lens on, so it's going to be looking at every little stinking detail. So what I like to do is I like to have a pile of the completed bits over there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have like an intermediary place right here. And this is for after I just trim off. And this is another one where I'll put it down and trim it off this way. So it doesn't, because see, when you use the nippers, what you're doing is you're biting into the plastic with the blade. And there's still pressure on it. So it can warp it. But this way, you're just cutting straight through it with that blade. And put these right here. We'll just nip some of these off. I put the little sprue bits there. Now, here's something important. The bottom of the feet of a lot of these press fit kits, you have a base, and the foot will peg into the base, right? So sometimes they have the sprue connected at the end of the peg, which is, you know, it's like, why they do that? Well, it actually is beneficial, because that's not a part you're going to have to clean up much, because it's not damaging what you're going to see when the model is put together. So I just nip that. Now make sure you don't nip the peg itself, because you need that to fit the thing together. And he's got a little bit right here, and just, that's not wanting to come loose. There you go. That one needs some trimming. I'll just go ahead and do that. And there's some kind of hard to get to places in these. Just work with it. Be patient and work down in there. And see, all right, I don't know if you can see it or not, but you see that line that goes down, the back of his calf there? That is a seam. And seams are really easy to deal with. You just take the knife and run it down it, and it will trim that seam. And you can just, you know, you can do it really smoothly, and it'll pull it right off. And you know, sometimes you can hit it. Like what I like to do with these emery boards, I like to cut them until they're little thin strips. And I don't really have anything to cut this with today. Well, I got a razor blade. Anyway, what I usually do is I cut them into strips, and then I can get a little piece that will fit down in that little nook there and sand that down. Because right now, if I go to sand this, I must sand off some of the detail right here. But that's something to do for later. Right now, we're just putting this guy together. I thought this was going to be a short little video, but it's turned out to be a long little video. But I hope I'm sharing some good information. These tricks, these tips and all that kind of stuff, these work with any kind of model kit. Like if you're building a 57 Chevy, it's the same thing. You can use these same tools to make it easier on yourself and to make the model look better when you're done. Trying to remember to keep it in frame there. These little pieces are tough to get to because they're between two spikes on his armor. And if you're ever unsure about what piece to not trim off or whatever, look back at the instructions and it'll show you what the trimmed pieces look like. Like the bottom of the foot there, it doesn't have that little piece of plastic anymore because it's trimmed off. And that goes with any of those little bits that stick out. Let's see, now what is this? Oh, this is his arm. And I know that this piece comes off here. Trying to keep it in focus. Got to be careful. Because the details on these things are just... I'll say it again, Games Workshop makes some of the coolest minis out there. Both in sculpt, I believe, and also just in design. Like the designs of the characters are so really cool. All right, let me trim this off and I'll show you something. Okay, so this is a case where you have two pegs that have the little sprue chunk on it. And like I said, these are convenient because you're not really... Well, actually, all right, let me take that back. The end of this piece is going to come through this. That's going to fit over like a cap on that, and this part will come through. So you want to be careful. Anything that's going to show up on the outside of the kit, you want to make sure it's a nice clean cut. And you can actually, I like to take my X-Acto and just run it back and forth like a saw. And that's pretty clean. All right, this side you're not going to see it, so you can just trim it right off. And those are the pieces. I'll do a little bit of cleanup here. Let's see if you can see it. The site I'm working today is right near a highway that's pretty busy, but this is a really slow site, so that's how I am working, doing this and working at the same time. It's a slow site, and so in a 12-hour day, maybe 40 people will come through. So do the math on that. That's a lot of gaps of not doing anything. When I get here in the morning, I clean up, make sure everything's straight, make sure everything's functioning, and make sure there's room for people to throw stuff away. And then I head inside for a bit because there's really nothing else to do. If I see somebody that comes up that's an elderly person or just somebody that looks like they're having a hard time, I run out and help them. But for the most part, folks out here, it's kind of a do-it-yourself type thing. You just need somebody here to keep the compactors running, keep the place clean, make sure people aren't putting... That's another thing I do. I keep an eye on people when they come through because people put things in the wrong places. I have, for the last close to 2 years, worked at one of the busiest sites in this area, and that was a whole different story. That was a case of you don't even get a chance to have lunch. You're constantly moving. Hold on. Okay. Just had to keep an eye. A guy came up, and he's number 20, and it is 1:40 right now. I've been here since 7 a.m. That kind of gives you an idea. And he's got some stuff to throw into the compactor. So if he needs any help, I'll run help him. Sorry, I was doing that off camera like a dummy. I'm just taking some of the sprue off of this. This guy looks like he could use some help. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. So, yeah, I've got them trimmed up and everything. Now, this is, if you're wanting to use this as a press fit and just keep it together and have it not come apart, you just build it on from this. I'm going to do this long peg. That's the central thing that's going to hold most of this together tightly. There's pegs. Okay, there's pegs in other places. If I were gluing this kit right now, I'd trim off a good bit of these pegs because whenever you're putting them together with glue, that glue bonds pretty fast, and it makes it kind of difficult getting them apart again. But I'm not going to glue them together. I'm just going to trim a little bit, especially this one piece right here. I'm going to trim that. Uh-oh. Okay, good. I didn't lose anything. I thought I had knocked a piece off. I'm going to trim this just a little bit because that one piece right there will fit in there really tight. And so I don't want that. But if you're putting it together just regularly, don't worry about that. So what we'll do is we'll refer to the instructions here. And it tells you to pick the head that you want, which I've picked the armored head. And you take the back piece, which is this one right here. And you would take that, and it's saying that you insert it in here. Yep, and it just fits right in. It just kind of sits in there, like it's got like a little lip right there, and it'll go up under that ledge right there. See that little place? So you would just kind of just stick it right in there like that. Now it's saying that you go ahead and put the legs in place. And we have it's a left leg. Yeah, you put that, put it where you can see it. It's got a little peg right here, and that will press into there. And it fits pretty tight. Like, that's the way these things are. They're engineered to really fit together tight. And there's not much wiggle room once you get them in there. And we'll go ahead and put the other leg in. And it's, it's got like a little peg and a lip that will fit right there. And you just peg them in. And you keep pushing until they're in there tight. And you want to be careful because this plastic will, see how thin it is right there? That stuff, if you push on it, it will stress it and it'll make it weak forever. Like there's, it's going to be weak. All right, so what you have now, if you look in the instructions, you have basically what we have here. The 3 pieces, or the 4 pieces that are put together. So step 2 shows that you put the arms into the front part. And that's before you put this all together. So that's a sub-assembly. So you would take the 2 arms. He has they're corresponding this way. This is the left arm, and this is the right arm. And you would take the front piece and put it in the corresponding place. So he's got a little peg. Oh, get it where you can see it. It's got a little peg right here and a peg hole. And you would press that thing in, and you have to find the angle that it fits. And it'll only slide in one way. I'm trying to see if I can get that back out so you can see. Well, that one's in there, so it'd be kind of difficult to get it out, but I'll do it with this one. There's a certain way it's going to go in, and you can kind of, like, it'll only fit in there one way. There's no wiggle with this stuff. Like, it's going to go, and they're a tight fit. You got to really kind of push them in there really well to get them in there, because if they're not in all the way, let's see, is that one in all the way? If they're not in all the way, then the 2 pieces will not fit together. And that's one of the issues I have sometimes with these press fit kits is you've got well, see, that moved out a little bit, so that's good. I want to get a little gap between his body and the hammer. So, and that one moves out a little bit. I don't know if it's supposed to, though. Usually these things are kind of fixed. Yeah, and it's showing them being out a little bit. Okay, that's good. Okay, now, I'm going to put the hammer together. And this is a part that I would definitely, if I didn't glue anything else, it would be this. Because this little piece right here, the front face of that hammer, that will fit right there. And it kind of clips over the end of the hammer. Like it fits right into place. And there's that little nub. But you see what I mean? Like it's like these things, it's in there all the way. It just feels kind of like this one's a little wiggly, and they don't usually like that. But anyway, I see that one too. Anyway, what you do in the next step, it shows you putting those halves together. And that's what we'll, oh, and of course I knocked a piece out, and it was his head. It was his old noggin. Yeah. It's kind of hard to work with this Band-Aid on my finger. But do what you got to do. And then these pieces will fit together and you press it. Now, if I had not trimmed that one piece, this would fit together and it would be locked together. But now, as it is, I can get something in there and jam it apart, or pry it apart, so that I'll be able to use the parts and all for stuff I want to make with this. Okay, so now you would take the shield and you kind of look at the reference pictures about which way the thing is supposed to go. Sometimes they'll have it cut like a certain shape for it to fit perfectly, but this one's just round, so you can kind of position it however. But it does have the little points for the like the strap on the shield. Like that's what that is, the strap pieces. And it corresponds with that, but you want to make sure you got this right. It's this way or this way. If you have it this way, the thing's upside down. According to the finished picture right here, that can't really see it there. Oh, dummy. Yeah, see the face of the character is pointing down and the words are on top. So you would kind of arrange it like that. That's the way it's going to be. And so you line it up with those straps, and there's a peg hole right there. And just getting it in the right place is kind of tricky, but you want it to line up and then you can press it in and that'll hold it. And you can take it off. And another good thing about when you put these things together, sometimes it's a good idea to take them back apart, and certain things you paint by themselves. Like it would be a lot easier to take them apart and take that head out and then put the head on a holder and paint just the head so you can really get all the details of the face. The shield would come off so you can get all the details up underneath the shield. The legs, same thing. Like you've got places up in there where it's going to be really hard to paint stuff. And that's why you should paint things like if it's something that is in two parts, like it's got a split down the middle of it, it's better to have it together to paint it. But like these arms will come out of the peg, like so you can basically get it back to this point right here where like the legs are separate pieces and the arms are separate pieces. And I would paint those separately because you can get all the details, because really getting everything painted up under that skirt is going to be a hassle. And the thing you have to remember is when you're painting this, people are going to look at it from all different kind of angles and stuff like that. And, they're going to pick up the miniature and look at it different ways. And you want every surface to be painted, every surface that's viewable. And so that includes the underside of these skirts and stuff. Even if it's black, you just paint it black under there so you're not really seeing anything. You've got to still get to parts and paint it. And you don't ever want to assume, oh, that's cool, his head just fell right out, which is good because, I'm planning on doing something with it. But I'll just stick it right there for now. That's why I feel like a lot of times the press fit kits, it's good to glue them after after you've got everything really done with it. Now, it shows in the picture here, it shows the base arranged. Let's see if we can match it up. Like this. Yep, because there's a hole there and a hole there. And then what you would do is you would line him up with those holes. You would line the pegs up with those holes. and those will fit down in there. And this is these, whenever you put them in there, they go really tight and deep. I'm not going to push it all the way down because, like I said, I'm using this guy for some parts and stuff, and I do want to be able to take it apart and paint it. But basically, that is the figure completed. And what a cool looking dude this is. I'm really, really, really happy with this guy. You know, I'd be tempted to paint him up as he is, because the way they've got him with the little paint guide on here, he looks really cool. Those colors, like that dark, deep blue to the white and the gold and all. He looks really cool. But I've got other plans for this guy, so he won't look like this when I'm done with him. He's going to be much more monstrous. But really cool. And like these little gaps right here, sometimes these kits don't match up quite right. Or maybe that's part of the design. Oh, it is. That's like the ledge over there. But still, something like some, you can get modeling putty and just put a little bit on there and kind of smooth out those lines so you don't have a little gap there. Because some kits, you're just going to have a gap no matter what. Now, I'm wondering, okay, when you lock these two pieces in, it locked the arm in place. So it's not wiggling now. It's staying right in place. It just needed the two pieces to be hooked together. But that is really cool. And I've gone way long on this video, but like I said, I hope there's some useful stuff you can use. I am in no way an expert about miniatures. I would refer you to several other channels I always refer people to for putting minis together, and especially for painting them, because I'm still learning the miniature painting thing. But I've been putting toys together for all of my life, so I'm pretty okay with that, I guess. But anyway, this has been a video I hope you can enjoy and use. And if you like it, hit the subscribe button for more. I try to post regularly. And now that I'm sometimes filming while I'm working, I'll have more videos coming out. Because part of my problem was I was working 12-hour days away from home. And that's hours where I could have been working on stuff and making videos. But now I have the ability to do that now that I'm not at one of the busier places. But anyway, hit subscribe, like if you like it, comment. I love comments. I love talking. I respond to, as far as I know, I've responded to every comment people have left. And if I haven't, let me know and I'll respond to you then. But anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day and keep playing around.